Okay, thanks very much for that little introduction. Thank you very much to the organizers for inviting me today, and especially to Dr. Emil Toescu. I'm going to speak about the Doctors of Humanist, why medical humanities are more important than ever. I'm going to divide my talk into two sections. Section A, so let's say the Doctors of Humanist is the main title, but it will come after Section A. Section A will be what and why. I'm going to give a little explanation as to why the medical humanities and what are the medical humanities and why they are so important. And the second section will be how. So I will give my little personal experience about leading this project, the Doctors of Humanist, that Dr. Emil Toescu mentioned earlier. But before I begin, let's say, the main body of my talk, I would like to show two images. And I would like to show you two images, and I would like you to keep these images in mind and throughout the presentation until the end of the presentation. And at the end of the presentation, it will become a little bit clearer why I started with these images. So what are the medical humanities? Well, I see that today's conference, or many conferences, is health humanities. Well, I don't want to get into a big discussion about the differences between health, medical humanities, or even critical medical humanities. But for today, I'm going to speak about medical humanities. So I have two short, relatively recent definitions of the medical humanities. One is by Cole, Carlin, and Carson in their, I would say, very good introduction to the medical humanities, an introduction, and they are all professors in Texas, University of Texas. And they say, and I quote, medical humanities is an inter and multidisciplinary field that explores context, experiences, and critical and conceptual issues in medicine and healthcare while supporting professional identity. I rather like to stress the last phrase, supporting professional identity. And Kleinman in 2017 writes, an interdisciplinary field concerned with understanding the human condition of health and illness in order to create knowledgeable and sensitive healthcare providers, patients, and family caregivers. I'd like to stress here the differentiation between health and illness, and also the fact that Klugman includes healthcare providers, patients, and family caregivers, not just healthcare professionals. So I'm going to begin with a little case study. The image on the left, I think, is also very relevant to what we're talking about today and what we're discussing today. It's a self-portrait by Francisco Goya, sorry, and it shows his doctor, Dr. Arrieta, treating the patient painter. In actual fact, it's even more interesting that the painting was donated in Goya's will to Dr. Arrieta. So I have a little case study. This is a true story of a young doctor, 43 years old, physician, a successful physician, married to a wonderful woman, blessed with two fine sons, and then is assaulted, has a terrible life-threatening disease that nearly destroyed his family. So we're talking about a doctor who has a disease, and he goes to the doctor, and he thinks that the doctor, or the doctors he sees, didn't ask him the questions he really wanted to be asked. So what could those questions be? Well, today is a presentation. Normally we get some feedback from this, and here are what he propounds to be the questions he really wanted to hear. What has the disease done to your life? What has it done to your family? What has it done to your work? What has it done to your spirit? So These are very important questions. And these are essential questions to medicine. And these are questions, let us say, brought in from the humanities rather than from the sciences. So why the medical humanities? Well, here you have a wide range of possible answers. Promote interdisciplinary research into human side of medicine, develop critical thinking, incredibly important, accept but learn from errors, insights into diversity of human condition, professionalism, which is something I talked about just a couple of minutes ago. But I want to highlight three. Learn to cope with uncertainty, which now, as everybody battles to kind of come through this very difficult time, is more critical than ever. Empathy and emotions. Maybe this is a topic that traditionally doctors have had to, and health professionals, to keep a professional distance. Maybe we have to rethink this. Maybe under the situation we're going through now, maybe this is more critical than ever too. And another one, which in actual fact we devoted a whole symposium to, is the well-being and the healthcare and the looking after of the professionals. This is, I think, now more than ever, so important. I always like very much the approach of Dr. Iona Heath. She was the president of the Royal College of General Practitioners in the United Kingdom, and she's written a lot of very interesting articles about this, let's say, rebalancing. I think a word I want to stress again and again is balance. She says most physicians are not scientists. Now, it's interesting. If I'm speaking to first year or second year medical students, they might disagree. But if I'm speaking to consultants or attending doctors of more experience, they will probably agree with that. They have a different responsibility to attempt to relieve distress and suffering and to enable sick people to benefit by medical science while protecting them from its harms. It's very important, the last section. And she talks about a rift running through every consultation. On the one side is evidence-based medicine, let's say. On the other side is this very important role for humanity. Arthur Kleinman is a psychiatrist, physiotherapist, and he's written some very important books. And he says, physicians are poised at the interface between scientific and lay cultures. Another image on the right is a painting by Picasso, which incredibly enough was painted when he was 15. And I'm always very interested in this painting because it's very similar to another painting by an English painter, Luke Files, which is called The Doctor. And I'm sure there was about a couple of years in difference between the two paintings. And I'm sure that, I can't remember if it was painted by Picasso first or Files first, but I'm sure there must have been some rub off between the one and the other, no? So I'm talking about this dualism, the dualism between the scientific and the humanistic. Here you can see the two sides of the consultation, which Iona Heath mentions, and you can see on the left, disease, objectivity, population, reason, etc. And on the right, illness, objectivity. I think this balancing between the two is for me what is essentially at the core of medical practice and medical education. Because primarily, medicine is not concerned with cases, but with people. And this seems obvious to me. This seems, you know, sometimes I think, well, why do I have to say this? And then I am or have been until the pandemic teaching in different departments in the teaching hospital in Mallorca. I live in Mallorca. And sometimes doctors have the, maybe they forget that they're looking after people. and they talk about the diabetic on bed, whatever, etc. And so I think it still has to be emphasized. This is from an article by Lester Liao, treating the physician as person, recognizing humanity in all of us is the foundation of the framework. I think it's so important. You have to look to the person within the patient. Restoring the balance, because as I say, I mentioned, it's not only about the patient, but it's about the healthcare professional. Healthcare professionals, and now more than ever, are becoming more and more alienated, and there's serious risks of depression, impairment, and even suicide, and not only in staff members, but in students. This is a very interesting article, which I will send to anybody who's interested, and it is a study done 2018, so it's about 4 years ago, in 5 universities, medical schools in the USA. And it's looking to see whether medical students' exposure to the humanities increases positive personal qualities and reduces burnout. And the conclusions are pretty strongly in favor of the importance of the humanities in terms of increasing positive qualities of the students and reducing the negative ones that we mentioned earlier on. I always think that this interesting study could and should be transferred to European universities. So I'm very much in favor if anybody wants to put it into practice, and I can help if that might be a case. I always think that to move forward, we have to go backwards. I don't believe in what Henry Ford says, that all history is bunk. No, I think it's very important to go backwards and to learn. And one of the masters is Osler, of course. What is not known is that Osler's son died in the, or not often, people don't often know this, died in the Spanish flu pandemic in 1918, 1920, I think, 1918 to 20. And that was made a very, very big impact on William Osler. And I always think of this as a very nice quotation. Twin berries on one stem, grievous damage has been done to both regarding the humanities and science in any other light than complemental. They need to be together. Historically, they were together, but now, or the last 50, 60 years, so now it's been a progress, or progress, probably not the right word. It's been a moving towards this separation of the two. This year, or the year, I would say the year that the world changed, I was thinking about 2020, but also this year. I don't know how everybody else feels, but in 2020, I felt more optimistic in terms of maybe change would come because of what was happening. Now I'm not so sure. A very nice quotation from Albert Camus, who says, there have always been as many plagues as wars in history, yet plagues and wars take people equally by surprise. I was taken by surprise. I think most of us were taken by surprise, but there were warnings. There were many, many warnings. And this leads me to the second section. The second section, I'm going to a little paintbrush stroke over what we're trying to do in the Doctors of Humanist. It is an international organization of students, scholars, educators, and practitioners dedicated to the study, preservation, and promotion of humanism in medicine around the world. And we pride ourselves in being international, interdisciplinary, but more than anything, intergenerational. I don't believe that the professors are the gurus. Some are, but I also believe that the students are and should be the focus. The ideas of the students are sometimes brilliant, sometimes not so brilliant, but always thought up and ideated, which is a word I don't like, with an enormous degree of enthusiasm and a degree of looking to the future. Professor Trevor Gibbs is president of AME, Association of Medical Education of Europe. And I remember him saying in one of the symposiums, we need to look after the medical students, because the medical students and the healthcare professional students will be the ones looking after our children and our grandchildren. And I completely agree. We aim to bring back the heart and soul to medicine. And as I said before, to look for the person in the patient. These are the steps taken so far. We only started in 2017, so sometimes I'm amazed at what we've done. We had the first symposium in Mallorca in 2017. I'm going to go through a little bit of this in a minute. But you can never rest on your laurels. The past is important, the future more so. This is the first international online course. And as you can see, we had an enormous range, both of topics, but also speakers. We had Professor Meg Chisholm from Johns Hopkins University, Pekka Loalia from University of Helsinki, Professor Moshfin from Johns Hopkins, Maria Gigli Marini from Milan, Professor Soriano from Autonomous Madrid, Saba Hussain, Dr. Saba Hussain from McGill University. And this inclusion of a diverse group of speakers was very refreshing from the beginning. And here you can see in the second international online course, and here you can see the diversity of students. Now, this is the second, 2019, 2020. And in the second, I think we had about 12 different nationalities. So here you can see Mexican students, Russian students, Greek students, students from Pompeu Fabra in Barcelona, and there were about 12 different nationalities in this particular online course. In the third online course, which is the most recent, we had more than 45 students. And what pleased me the most is that we had about 45, 50% were nursing students. So this is also another thing which makes me very, very proud. Even though the title is The Doctor is a Humanist, and I sometimes have to emphasize this, we believe strongly in inclusiveness, strongly in including those who want to participate. So it's not the doctor is not the figurehead, as it were. This is in actual fact, the name is taken from an article in the Lancet in 1936. So this is the reason. So this is the third online course, and I'll move on now to the symposium. This is just like a little kind of a summary of what we've been doing and what we're trying to do. This was in Mallorca, and we had, I think, some incredibly interesting speakers. We had in the photograph there, you can see Professor Wendy Reid, who was in charge of Health England education. And then we have other professors from around the world, and we had a painting. The artist is on the right there. We had a painting being painted during the symposium. So at the end of the symposium, we were able to show this painting, which is kind of a representation of the symposium. The second symposium was in Moscow, as Dr. Tuesco mentioned earlier. I've had the pleasure to be working in the most important and the oldest medical university in Russia, the Medical University of Chekhov. So all those who are Chekhov fans, Anton Chekhov studied here. Here you can see some of the images from the symposium. What I'd like to re-emphasize is the importance of the students, the importance the students played in this symposium. You can see one image on the here on the left. This is a roundtable discussion organized by the students. The third symposium was meant to take place in Mexico City, but if you can see by the date, which was March 2020, we had to cancel it. And we decided to cancel it, and then we decided to do something with the work. We'd been working for a year and tried to make a series of conversations to try to put into context the times, troubling and trying times we were going through. So we put on a series of 9 symposia and more than 240 attendees from 24 countries and 47 universities. There's the program, I think is very complete and interesting. We're Professor Dr. Quiñones from Mexico City now is an illegal immigrant from Mexico, and he is now the Mayo Clinic professor of neurosurgery. So he was talking about humanitarian medicine. And then from this, we moved on to another online course, virtual symposium dedicated to 2 things, public health and mental health. And this was an enormous event where we had more than 1,750 registrants, and it was, I think, a big success. We were sponsored by McGraw-Hill, and we were trying to make sense of the things that are happening to us at the moment. The third online school. And this is just another piece of work that we've managed to do. We've made a film with 25 reflections on what was happening in last year and this year, and the feelings of these medical students and doctors from around the world. If anybody's interested, it's on YouTube, and you'll be very, very welcome. I do see this as an opportunity. I do see more of the silver lining in the cloud, to take a cliche. I believe that we are at a critical moment, and I believe that this moment is critical not only for medicine, but for the whole world, of course. But I think within medical education and medical practice, the humanities need to play a bigger role. With this in mind, and with a kind of thread running through the virtual symposium from 2020, we are putting on another virtual symposium, but this time dedicated to nature and medicine. And you will see in the title the word balance, restoring the balance between earth and health. Here's the program. I'd be very delighted to show the screen or to share the presentation later on, but we have a wide range of plenary speakers, roundtables, etc., and the possibility for medical students all around to take part, and I will explain. We have 2 ways you can take part. We are building a mosaic of photographs of nature from around the world. Here are some examples, and if you can see, here is the Twitter hashtag NatureMed2021. This is the beginning of a project, the Tree of Medicine, which will be ongoing, and we are, as I say, collecting images from around the world. You can contribute, and I would be delighted if you contributed to this. And with this in mind, I just wanted to show you a little video explaining the spirit about what we're trying to do in November.
In Candide, Voltaire wrote, "We must cultivate our garden. Our relationship with nature is long, complex, and complicated." My name is Jonathan McFarland, and I'm president of the Doctors Humanist. I'm delighted to be co-organizing the symposium, Nature and Medicine, Restoring the Balance Between Earth and Health, with friends and colleagues from around the world. This is my own tree of medicine. in the Penrose Natural Reserve. And I dedicate this to the project we're working on, joining ideas and images and videos from around the world. Coming here to Anglesey and to this beautiful natural reserve, Penrose, makes me feel and understand deeply how important this relationship between the natural world and us humans is. Critical and crucial. So come and join us on the 12th and 13th of November. Come and join us, talk about and discuss how to restore this balance.
I hope it's a peaceful way to begin today's very interesting series of plenaries and discussions with a few images of nature. Time is of the essence, and time is slipping by. I realize I have a few more minutes. At the beginning, I showed two images. These images, I think, are very important. The image on the left is a portrait of Braque by Picasso. And in it, Braque talking about Picasso says, we were like mountain climbers roped together. This is talking about the Cubist stage. I know Dr. Tuescu is a big fan of modern art, so this is talking about the Cubist stage. And for me, this is a very good metaphor for the relationship between the sciences and humanities. They're roped together. Now, the question is, do we want to, or has the rope been cut, and do we need to tie it back together? Probably yes, and probably we need this to climb the mountain. And the second image is what I've been re-emphasizing during the talk, balance. It's all a question of balance. And I think that this balance is now more important than before. So these are my take-home messages. Don't feel that uncertainty is a negative thing. There's a very interesting essay by Carlo Rovelli, the Italian physicist and humanist. He's very interested in philosophy. And he talks about uncertainty being a real positive thing. And I think it is. And I think we need to embrace uncertainty, and we need to teach young people to do the same. Now is a good opportunity. The second is the sciences and humanities go together, and the third is balance is the key. So, thank you very much. I'm delighted to answer any questions. My contacts are here if you're interested, my email, my Twitter, and even my WhatsApp. I'm very happy to receive WhatsApp messages from any of you. And here's just the bibliography I used today. And thank you very much.